had been single in Berlin for 5 years. So I got to a point when I thought, all right, I need to make these dates as efficient as possible.
Wow.
Victoria Brito is the community leader of FitMeet, a space that brings single people together through sports and real-life connection.
We go for a 5K run or a 2.5K walk, and then we come back and we socialize. We'll have like a game to get to know each other that's a bit low pressure, but just a way to start conversations. Let's have a community where people know each other, can vouch for each other too.
Why black?
Black signifies that you are single and that you're open to new connections.
FitMeet is part of a growing shift away from apps toward real-world connection and shared experiences.
I quit the dating apps. I'm so sick of these other really high-pressure dating events. I'm just here because I'm having fun.
If you see a guy that is running, maybe you can infer that maybe he's more disciplined, that he takes care of his health.
Time to put an end to this and let's just reset.
This conversation is packed with insights on how to navigate offline dating.
Rule number 1, it's called DBAD. Don't be a dick. Honesty and respect, ladies and gentlemen. Ask for that from the beginning. I would say also be kind, be happy, and be open-minded because that might not be your match, but his best friend might be.
She opens up about her dating life with plenty of laughs and surprising twists along the way.
My shortest date time was 12 minutes. Oh, the amount of love bombing I've received is unfathomable.
Wow. I want to know this story.
And he had a girlfriend at the time. It just keeps getting wild.
We probably need to edit this part.
Lying, exaggerating, love bombing. None of these are necessary. And you know what? Women want...
Let's dive in.
So welcome, Victoria.
Thank you.
You know, like, it's fantastic that we are having this weather in Berlin. Now it's sunny after a cold winter. And the first question I want to ask you is, how do you feel today?
I feel fantastic. We officially have one more day of... Not one more day. We officially have one more hour of daylight savings. So as a sun child, a self-proclaimed sun child, I'm finally in my peak in this city. And I'm like, man, now I see why I'm here still, you know?
Sunchild, you mean that you are not German? I understand.
I'm not German.
Where are you from?
So while the accent might tell you one thing, I was born in Brazil. And then I grew up in the U.S. I moved there when I was 8, but then I would say that my heart became a bit of a hybrid. I realized I didn't just want to be one. And then after 6 years of being in Berlin, I could say that I even have like 20% German/European sneaking up in there with the others. So, yeah.
So if someone asks you, where are you, you know, like, how do you feel? Where are you from?
I would say I'm a Brazilian who grew up in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I still think that I have a lot of American qualities, and then even my mannerisms are a bit more American. But like the way I think can be a little bit more American, but I'd say that my heart speaks more like a Brazilian and has a bit more, I guess, of a community feel and a bit of a different way of approaching empathy.
It happened to me exactly the same thing. You know, I was born in Argentina, and when I was 15 years old, I moved to Spain. And when people ask me, where are you from? Sometimes I struggle to say, you know, like in my case, I'm half and a half Argentinian, half Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. Cherry picking the best parts of each of the cultures, right? That's what I think.
No, definitely. So today we are going to talk about dating and sports because you are running a community called FitMeet.
Yes.
Can you explain me a little bit what this is about?
So FitMeet is basically a community that I started for Berlin singles to have a way of kind of intentionally meeting together. I'm sure that like many of Berlin singles, you get to a point when you get dating fatigue. And I had been single in Berlin for 5 years, which, like, yes, I had like some longer periods of seeing some people, but never like it's just me and you. And yeah, so I got to a point in the past year when I thought, all right, I need to make these dates as efficient as possible. And I even started scheduling like on purpose 45-minute dates. I remember when I first moved here, I had more of an American mindset of like, oh no, you need to like show me some effort. Like I want like a drinks or dinner or something like that. And then it got to the end, I'm like, why? I just want to vibe check, especially when you come from a dating app, right? So then I thought like, okay, like why don't we just go to do workouts together? And I would suggest it to some people who said that they liked a certain sport. I'm like, yeah, let's just go to a spin class or let's just go to Beat 81. And then if you feel like this person is just like, if you kind of get the ick like in the beginning or something like that, then you're not stuck with them for 3 hours. And you know, I don't have the heart and the directness to be like, I'm sorry, this is not a vibe, let me leave. So I thought, why not just get more people who like, I have a lot of friends that want to find somebody else who is as active as they are, and I have a lot of friends who are really exceptional in their work and their passions. So this is kind of a low pressure way of meeting and kind of vibe checking and then seeing if something comes from it without, you know, some of the super intentional speed dating ways or like, yeah, other ways people say, especially when you go to a bar and you have no idea if they're single or not. And then after 2 hours, they say, well, my girlfriend, I'm like, great, I would have still talked to you, but I wish I would have also had the chance to talk to somebody else. Or the parties that people just don't text you back the next day.
Wow, so from what I'm understanding, it's a place where you can meet people without the pressure of the dating apps, let's say, that you need to stick with that person for a while. So it's a low pressure environment where you can do sports at the same time.
Exactly. And so I call it a fitness and social club. So you come, we started off with running, and that was the best, like, and for me also the cheapest way of starting off and trying to build a community. Every running community leader I spoke with said just survive winter. And I'm like, okay, which that was a mission and a half, guys. You know, it hurt, but we did it, you know. And then we started recently expanding to other sports like volleyball, yoga. We also have spinning in the works, working on some boot camp too, and just different ways of doing activities that you would have wanted to do regularly anyway. So you're more likely to really want to be doing these with a partner.
Wow. So when did you start actually this community? Because you said survive in the winter. We are just passing the winter.
Yes. I started it, funny enough, I had just started working with a therapist, and I had talked about this idea for like 3 or 4 months. And then I saw that New York had started it in this other run club community. And I thought, oh man, I've had this idea for months, and then like, but they're like gonna push it. And then this therapist was like, Vic, your mission is to do this before we meet next. And I thought, okay. And I just took to Instagram and I put 4 stories out there and said, hey guys, like if you're like me, I love this city, but it's pretty hard to date here. So let's just be humans again. Let's go for a little activity and just talk. And I pushed it to first a few WhatsApp channels that I was in, like this 500 woman community or 500 Brazilian woman community. And also I thought, okay, maybe I go on Facebook and look for things to do in Berlin. I posted on some Facebook channels too. And then on the first meet, I had me, my best friend, 2 of our friends, and 2 people we didn't know before from this Brazilian community. And we thought, all right, it's a start.
Wow, so cool. And I mean, I was checking the numbers, and in the WhatsApp group that you have for the community, it's over 500 people here in Berlin.
It's actually about 3,000.
3,000.
Mm-hmm.
Wow! So I didn't check correctly, but it's really cool that you grew up this community to that extent.
Yes. So the 500 are in the group of just asking questions, but the announcements are the part where some people who don't want to be in that optional group stay. But yes, it was first by Facebook groups. And after I had this idea, I thought, why not just go to like Brazilians in Berlin, Argentinians in Berlin, Americans in Berlin, Francophones. So it was a very diverse group of people, and really interesting to watch them, you know, just interact with one another. But then again, this is representative of our city anyway, right? So after these Facebook groups, then my friend told me, Vic, what's holding you back is that you're not on Instagram. You need to go on Instagram because that's how you're going to capture women. And she was 3,000% correct. So once I made an Instagram, and even though I do not credit my design skills, I think that they're just okay. But at least there's a theme that's kind of cohesive, and even having a few ads, then I started all of a sudden seeing more women attending the events, more interest, and now we're at a point where we have word of mouth, and I haven't done ads, and the community's still growing.
What motivated you to do this?
I was switching jobs, and after being in one place for about almost 5 years, I was getting to a point where it felt really stagnant. And when I went to switch jobs, then I thought, let's reinvent ourselves. Let's take some risks. Let's do these things. But I was kind of stuck. And then the therapist was more so to help me with, everybody in the States says they have this nowadays, but ADHD. And so it's managing these tasks and, being more proactive with how I handled them. And so she's more so kind of like a coach that's telling me, like, manage this, let's get these things together, and like, let's sort out how to figure these things out. And with that, I thought, all right, it's time. I have somebody who's an unbiased source telling me to do it instead of like my mom who's like, yeah, it's a great idea, honey, And I actually thought that there was potential. I saw it growing in New York too, but I thought there's so much potential in Berlin because so many people are here and then they say that they want to go on dates, but like some people are just trying to date the pain away. And then it's kind of like dropping, like, those videos where you see somebody dropping red in a pool of water and all of a sudden it kind of turns red. So I think that some of the toxic dating habits can be just like that. One person who spreads some toxic habits to other people, then spread them to others. And I thought, time to put an end to this and let's just reset. Let's have a community where people know each other, can vouch for each other too. Because even if they don't meet the love of their life there, at least they got something that's good for them in, and at least they met a bunch of other people that they might even be setting up in the background,
Do people in Berlin have toxic habits?
I would say so. I think it's a big city thing. I used to think it was more Berlin, but if you go to Miami, it's just Berlin with a mustache. So, and then Rio, like when I would spend about 2 months there over the winter, Rio has this strip of the beach where you just see the most beautiful people you've ever seen in your life. And then they're like, yeah, good luck trying to get one of them to lock down, So we're in this age of availability and everything is one swipe away. And then people just have a difficult time communicating their needs and also finding people that have a similar view without thinking, okay, but it's not this golden, perfect, extremely optimized online profile or, kind of just like living in, I think Berlin's kind of like Peter Pan land, and so is Miami too. I guess all three of the cities I mentioned. So finding people that are on the same page as you gets to be more challenging.
No, I understand. But do you think that the people they want to keep their options open all the time? Or what do you mean by being in the same page?
Yes, I think so. First, it's people always thinking, okay, but 80%'s great, but there's that 20 that's not quite there. And so there's that part that makes it challenging. And then the second bit too, I saw this somewhere and I've never resonated with something more in my life. So it said 30 in the suburbs is like being 44, but 30 in the city is like being 21.
Wow.
So I think I personally see some people in my friend groups that have kids and are like in that stage of their lives, and I don't really feel like I'm in that point, but there's this little ticking time clock in the background that's kind of like, hey, like if you do want to go this route, then it might be better to, not push it off too far. So as much as sometimes I thought, let me just take a year off of all this nonsense, then there's this other part that was like, you could, but you never know which cards you're going to get if you do decide to have the traditional kind of family life, you know.
Okay, so I understand 100%. In all these contexts, dating in Berlin, that is hard. You talk with your therapist, you decide to build this community in which you mix sports and dating, and you start moving it in Facebook groups, Instagram, and it starts to grow up to 3K in the WhatsApp at least. And how this group works, what are the dynamics, what it looks like to go to an event with FitMeet?
So what it looks like. So we have about 15 minutes in the beginning of our running events that are for ladies who are coming solo. I'm still looking for a solution because I know guys come solo too, but normally men are more comfortable coming by themselves to an event like this, at least statistically showing based off of all of my events. But ever since I started having this kind of like safe space in the beginning, then I had a much higher female turnout. So I have that 15 minutes in the beginning, then we say some initial hellos, we go for a 5K run or a 2.5K walk, and then we come back and we socialize. Sometimes we have like one game to kind of get to know each other in the free runs. So after the ladies kind of get to know each other, then we will have a stretch, go for a 5K run or a 2.5K walk. And after that, we'll have like a game to get to know each other that's a bit low pressure, but just a way to start conversations. And then people either take it from there, or some of the other events where I announce more of an itinerary than people expect, like trivia or like singles bingo or other kinds of things that they can do that's interactive too.
Okay, that's really cool. So if I'm single and I go to this event, everyone knows that I'm single. You know, it's an event for singles only.
If you wear a shirt like that, yes.
Like this?
Yes, because
What?
black signifies that you are single and that you're open to new connections.
Why black?
So black was, I think, the easiest color for people when you're thinking, what's in everyone's athletic wardrobe? One. And then what's something that people complain about the least, too? Because they say, oh, you know, black's more flattering. And I even thought maybe white, and other people said, no, sweat stains. You don't want to be showing that off. And I think about my single so much. I even bring deodorant, regular and sensitive, to each of the meets in the bathrooms, because nobody deserves to have.
Oh, that's true. I never thought about that.
Yeah,
you know?
imagine.
But just for the record, even if I'm black right now, wearing black, I'm not single. So this is going to get me into trouble. You're getting me into trouble. No, I'm not.
Yeah, but if you were trying to go to support one of your single friends, because, you know, people don't all want to go to something like this by themselves, you just wear a different color. Or even if you're single and you don't necessarily want to make new connections that are potentially romantic, then you wear a different color, and like it just shows the intention a bit better.
Okay, so if I'm wearing black, I'm in the event, I went for a run, stretch, some games. What happens if I should start if I'm a guy, I should start approaching girls that are wearing black, or how does it work?
It usually happens kind of naturally based on the settings that we have. So first we'll say, okay, say hello to people you haven't spoken with yet, or sometimes there's a game of like separating people and just finding something that they have in common, and it'll be groups of like 6 or something, and sometimes they come up with really creative and funny things, like we all forgot our sunglasses, like we all watched this one season of a show, and then even by sharing that, people say, oh yeah, you know, there's an excuse for them to speak about something.
And they exchange telephone numbers, and then they meet afterwards.
Yes, they it's on them to exchange that as they see fit. And the other part of why I have a WhatsApp community, or several now, instead of just that questions group, is that the phone numbers aren't displayed in the community, whereas in the questions group, if you opt into it, then you're opting into being in a group like that.
Is this a community for straight people or gay people?
It's open to whoever wants to join. I have one friend who's expressed interest in helping me lead the more like queer and like he would specifically lead the gay community out of it, but I'm hoping to first set a space where we have at least like a balanced gender. It doesn't matter the preference, but just so that we set some sort of vision of what it's like for the first events. And then we can really steer some of them to having more of this community that I would love to have join too, but I just didn't want to target everything at first, you know.
Oh, definitely. How do you make sure that, or how do you balance this 50-50, or you try to be, you said you want more or less to have similar amount of guys and girls?
So in the beginning, it was quite a mission when I was just trying to get people to join in general. And when I was posting in the random Facebook groups and things,
you only had guys there.
It was mostly men.
I don't know why I suspected that.
And then I would have one or two pop up, and I'm just like, hey, how do I keep this girl? You know,
Surrounded by all these guys.
and
you get to pick. Yeah,
there you go. One thing I learned too was actually that it was dependent on the weather, because if it's raining or exceptionally cold and raining, then usually women are like, well, I'm not going to go and try to meet somebody and my hair is going to be like super sweaty and wet and I'm going to feel like a dog. I'll never forget Charlottenburg. Oh man.
I don't have that problem, unfortunately.
I think it's fortunately in this instance,
okay.
But after this, then at the point I thought, okay, let me put some ads more targeted towards women. Now it's very balanced. Just for the last, I would say 3 months, when I also realized people like doing events in the weekends too. And then, people started inviting their friends and it has it's more known. Now it's more balanced. But for some specific events, like for volleyball or for bowling, then I already say, okay, we have this many male slots, this many female slots. Just let me know which one you're taking when you register.
Okay. Okay, I see. Do you have any love story or any success story that you heard? Okay, I want to hear that.
I do, and it's actually my best friend. So,
wow.
Yeah, and she met her partner in one of the first 7, I think, meets in the very beginning. So it was the second month of this thing, and I even have a picture of them, and they're together in there. So on the day they met, which we looked back on that, and it was even part of the group icon picture. I'm like, how funny, because the whole reason why she was there with me from day 1. She was there with me from day -100, right? And she's been the one that's been with me from the beginning, all right, we're getting out there, let's do this. And even when I wanted to give up, she's like, come on, Vic, it's getting so good. You're almost there. You're on the precipice of something. So, it was really cool to see how she met her partner in the beginning, and then it took him about 2 or 3 months to actually go on a date. So slow burn, guys. Don't think that just because you didn't meet somebody in the first 2 or 3 or 4 times that there's no chance.
Wow, that's true. Take it slow.
Yeah. So you have to plant the seeds so that you can, reap the benefits.
Let's dive into that. What kind of tips would you give to a guy that attends to one of your events in order to be successful? Apart from planting different seeds. Don't do it very publicly because it doesn't look very good.
Well, rule number 1, it's called D-BAD. Don't be a dick. So be kind. And let's see, a guy specifically, I would say, be kind. Give a compliment of something well thought out. So not necessarily you're beautiful or I really like those shoes. They're very unique. Or, that's a really interesting bracelet. Where did you get it? Or, oh, is that from this kind of a run? I've always thought about going to it. So just people are there because they want to socialize. And some of the feedback I've gotten about my singles community in comparison to others is that people that don't even know each other feel like they've known each other for years because they're just there and they want to meet. They want to hype each other up. When we went to bowling, I had 2 first-time attendees who said, oh, yeah, they know each other for a very long time, right? I'm like, most of these guys came in the past 2 months. And they're like, what? It really builds a sense of people who want to socialize, who want to connect via movement, and are there intentionally.
Oh, there is this component that, in your in your first date that you go through a dating app, it's a person that you just know, and it's a particular setting in which you're checking the vibes of that person. But I understand that you go to these running events regularly, so there is people that you see there 1 week and then another week, and this I understand it creates some sense of familiarity. And what is the difference that you see compared with dating apps that this way of dating provides?
So, remember when people used to have this kind of fantasy of like, maybe I'll meet my person at a grocery store and I'll drop a can and they'll pick it up for me. And yeah, that's how I'm going to meet somebody. Well, you can try that, but I think people after COVID just got into this like little personal bubble of just, yeah. And also, I don't know how long you want to park in a grocery store hoping for that to happen. But what I think is really good about this kind of a community is that, again, you have people who want to meet new people, whether to be friends or whether to be more than friends, and that people respect each other's boundaries too. But also, the sense of familiarity also comes down to people who aren't necessarily in a rush, because somebody might be there hoping to meet somebody like immediately because cuffing season is a real thing. And then there are other people who are there because they just kind of want to know who's out there, you know. And even when I said how I wanted to take a break from dating for a year, and then I thought like, no, you know, like still get out there too. I hear from so many people that, okay, I quit the dating apps. I'm so sick of these other really high pressure dating events. I'm just here because I'm having fun. I'm doing activities I would have wanted to do with a partner or with my friends anyway. I mean, who doesn't like to go bowling and with a bunch of like people who are just super excited to be out too, you know? So yeah, and potential to win prizes too. So even if you're there kind of nervous, don't know if you're going to meet somebody, you know, might be a bit more introverted, at least you have a chance of winning a prize, if not the prize.
Well,
you know?
that prize forever. No, the one thing that I find very interesting is also what kind of people that go to events. You know, like you can have a high pressure dating, speed dating event, but you don't really know what's the background. But a lot of you can get a lot of the other person by just knowing that they are running, for example. Mm-hmm. You know, like if you see a guy that is running, maybe you can infer that maybe he's more disciplined, that he takes care of his health, that he's more structured. Is this a true assessment, or how would you describe an average person of your community?
I would say that most of them do some sort of physical activity regularly, whether it's just going to the gym and then they're adding running to it because that's a way to meet somebody else, right? Or they're curious about this new activity, like volleyball. Most people were like, I'm a beginner, but I just want to have fun. But I even had some people who started running because of this event. Yeah, wow. There's... yeah, I can think of one person specifically that he came for the first time in late January, and he was like, I've never run before, but I'm here. And we're like, welcome. And now he's practicing for a 6.5K, when in the first session, we were like, come on, you got this. Like, and my boyfriend was back there with him, you know, like making sure he was good, caught the lane. He was like, why does it not end, you know? And now he's really getting more into it. So some people may not start as the most, like, let's say regular athletes, but at least not in the discipline that they were participating in at that time. But just having this chance to be around people who make them feel good encourages them to go back and do it again.
Wow, that's very, very cool. Did you meet your boyfriend in the running event?
I didn't, but yeah, I did not meet him where anybody would expect either.
Oh, okay. It was more of a regular...
Huh?
A regular meeting.
It was the most abnormal thing ever. It was on Wege gesucht.
No. I want to know this story.
And he had a girlfriend at the time. It just keeps getting wild. So basically,
we probably need to edit this part.
No, okay. So I really met him when I thought, hey, if I have this club for people who are single in Berlin, why don't I just add it to like my Bumble or Hinge that I'm not really like using, but if it's out there, then people can see it. So in my bio that I thought I would just like swipe like 1 or 2 times, I had tech by day, getting Berlin's fit singles to run together by night, and I put the Instagram handle. So I had that on Hinge and on Bumble, and I thought, well, if I'm here, I can just look magically for like 5 profiles or something. I thought, let me not spend hours on this thing again. So I went, well, okay, yeah. And then thought, fine. Then we met and went on some dates. And I brought him over to my place once, and he said, wait, I've been here. I'm like, excuse me? And he goes, I've been here. I had a viewing for this apartment before. I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, about 2 years ago. And at first I thought that somebody that I had let sublease was trying to sublease my flat to him. And I thought, what a sneaky little sublet person trying to do like a double mega super sublease, you know? But then after a little bit, I realized, wait, no, he's the super tall guy that you were like trying to sublease to 2 years ago. And in my head at the time before, I was like, I'd rather have one girl than have a couple staying at my place. So I was like, no, sorry. And never thought I would run into him again. And hey, what's meant to be is meant to be, I guess. Cause yeah, there we are.
Wow. So this is another Berlin thing, you know, like we have the dating scene and also we have the searching for an apartment scene.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. And I've also had people who are clearly searching for their wives in the apartment. And yeah, I don't recommend the cross like intersection of the two. But all I'm saying is have a good attitude and a smile about you, because you might find out about it in a different setting.
Wow. So that's really cool. Good story there. But coming back to the community, we talked about how to show up as a guy for the community. Don't be a dick. I think it works in other contexts as well.
And also, don't try to be the extremely sporty alpha male, because we always get like 2 of those, and like 2 out of 40, still not a big deal. But there's always somebody who wants to be like the absolute fastest. And like, if you want to do that, follow the route. But know that it doesn't really look like you're there for the vibes.
Okay, so if you want to be a truly alpha, how long do you need to run? And for how long?
What do you mean?
I don't know. If you are a truly alpha male, you need to run 20K or
no,
40K? What's a beta?
What's the
5K, 3.
No, it's the paces. It's the paces.
It's pace.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, the 2 people who are like, well, what's the pace? And, you know, like, what's going on? I'm like, guys, if you see most of the ladies are back there, I get that you want to do your workout. But checkers or chess? Chess, not checkers. You know, if the people you want to talk to are there, you might want to do chess. And
go with the girls.
Yeah. Yeah. Go to the target group that you're there to meet, you know? So
run at a talking, conversational pace.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We're trying to split into faster paces for other people too, but like, just saying, there was a bit more intent for this, you know? Like,
you can run by yourself, I believe.
You can.
Know, like, if you want to run long distances super fast, but if you're going to an event where you want to meet other people that are singles, probably to run super fast.
Yeah, that's why that's putting the single in the singles social group. Yeah.
Okay, so for girls, how can you show up to the event and be more successful?
For ladies, I would say, since we're also coming from this dating app culture of the women having a bit more power in matching, I would say to be open-minded and, you know, be open to meeting people, and feel free to obviously like set your boundaries if you don't want something further to happen. Most people, I would say everyone I've seen in my group has been very respectful from what I have seen. I have not received complaints of like any attendees having any issues. But I would say also, like be kind, be happy, and be open-minded, because that might not be your match, but his best friend might be. So if I've heard of people connecting afterwards with people they know, so it's always possible.
Okay, so be open-minded, treat people, reject gracefully, let's say.
Reject gracefully. That's a really nice way of putting it. Reject gracefully. And you might be there for one instance, but you might make a bunch of other friends too. Like the regulars that we have that come in for the community aspect too. Some of them have even met other partners, so they just come in colors, but they really enjoy the group that they've met, so they'll come and do the activities with us too.
So if you go dressed in colors, that means that you are taken.
Correct. Or at least not necessarily open to single connections, like single romantic connections. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting topic. So a lot of things are going in the event, meeting new people, singles, running, doing sports, not only running, but you have bowling, you say, there are some games as well, yoga. So where do you see this community going in the future?
My absolute dream would be to have kind of like a network, even similarly to urban sports, where you would have certain singles activities in your city, and you would just keep having ways of connecting, mostly through movement, but sprinkling in some not as physically draining, I guess, activities in there too. Like we're having our community join the So Far Sounds concerts. So that's going to be for a single night too. And I'm really excited for that. And just having different things that people can sign up to where they can go and do these activities, and then making it a bit of a countrywide or multinational network. That requires more studios, more singles, and a lot of work in the background. But it's been something that's taken a lot of my time. I call it my 9-month-old. Everyone else has a baby. My baby is the run club.
The run club.
The fitness club. And so my 9-month-old just has to keep growing and growing gracefully with the same community feel. So hopefully while still maintaining this essence that people are really enjoying coming back to in different places too.
Yeah, well, one of the things I really like the analog with the urban sports. One of the things I feel that urban sports lack is this sense of community. It feels like I go there, I do a CrossFit or a BEAT 81 exercise, and then I go back. Or a yoga session is kind of, you're doing things with other people, but it's not that you have a coffee or anything. There's no communal feeling. It's, individual exercising with people around you, but you don't connect with them. Mm-hmm. So I think this idea that you are mentioning, I think it's really cool that you have these events, sports events, low pressure environments where you can meet people and you can connect with people.
And even though the thing you have in common is that you are single, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are sourcing, like looking for somebody to be your partner for short term or a long term. So just like what you mentioned, sometimes it's just finding people who have similar interests as you do and are in similar life circumstances, instead of, let's be honest, when some people have kids or when they have a partner, their priorities shift a bit and they might not have as much time to socialize or to do these classes with you, or, life happens. So it's also just making sure that you meet other people who are more capable of matching your schedule and lifestyle.
Okay, can we dive deeper into this? So if you're mentioning that if you have some friends that they have kids, then the schedule changes.
Yes.
Compared with a single person.
It is true, because even when I go back home and visit my friends who have kids, I don't have I don't think I quite have friends who have kids in Berlin. If I'm forgetting somebody, I'm sorry. But love you, whoever you may be. But it's different because they have to plan their day around it, and they say, okay, well, is this place friendly for kids? Or I can't necessarily go to a workout because I have to watch my son or daughter. And yeah, even with a boyfriend, you might have plans for the next 4 months or something. So when it's just you, yourself, and your lovely you, then you can decide what's worth squeezing into your schedule.
Oh, that's very interesting. What this community taught you about relationships in general?
I think it's taught me that clear communication, even though people talk about this all the time, but clear communication is super important, and that I think one thing I had learned before, but that I really saw in play, was assume positive intent. So doesn't mean that everyone is correct, but just like what we talked about with rejecting gracefully, assume positive intent. And even if it's not the right person for you, like this might be somebody who's just taking a shot. And would you want somebody to say like, no, how dare you? You know, like when they come over to you? No. So regardless of which side it is, kindness is the best thing to multiply. So when you have this happiness, it's really contagious, and then like people come back seeking that happiness again. It's lovely to make this comforting space. So yeah, when you think that people are doing something out of, you know, kindness, and, you know, you double check before you think it's the other intention, then it lets that kindness multiply.
Wow, that's such a positive message. And
I hope so.
It's interesting, you know, like especially when you mentioned that after 5 years dating in Berlin, it's easy to get the dark side of dating, and ghosting, and lack of commitment. But after all this journey and building this community, the message is like, be kind.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Because I think I'm lucky that I got to be in the space where I'm now seeing people who choose to come back and spend their free time in a community that I've built. And I think that that's the biggest compliment. Time is the biggest thing that you can give. It's not, you know, like, sure, somebody wants to give you a gift or a Ferrari, I'm not going to say no. But, you know, a Ferrari from your estranged friend is not as good as, you know, getting to see and spend time with your really close friend. So seeing that a lot of people who are behind these profiles that I may have created this vision and narrative in my head about, of like, okay, well, this person probably thinks like this, and like not having that preconceived thought, and instead thinking like, this is a person in front of me. I'm building this vision based on how they show up for my events, how they speak to me, and how they treat other people around them. Then I'm like, okay, the city actually has a lot of incredible people who may have just not had the bridge to meet one another.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. And I think there is a lot of people craving for this connection, you know, like these dynamics of individuality in Berlin, and trying to sometimes leaves you with this feeling of emptiness, and the fact that there is someone connecting, you know, like creating those spaces for people to connect. I think that this is a great thing, a great thing. And also these offline events and offline dating, and I think it's something that it's happening in the last years.
Yes.
You know, we've been 20 years with the dating apps, and I was talking the other day with Anna, and 60% of the users feel negative about the experience in the dating apps.
61 put me in there. No.
And this is more of the forefront of dating, you know, in the change in dating, the dating scene.
So I have to say, even though I feel negatively about the dating apps, it is how I met the person that I'm with today, and I'm very happy with. So I don't want to go out and telling everybody, delete everything, maximize your chances, but just know how to prioritize your energy, because I feel like it was not reciprocating the energy that I wanted. And man, like, yeah, I think everyone has at least a couple Berlin stories where you're like, oh my gosh.
Do you have one that you want to share?
My shortest date time was 12 minutes.
In a date?
In a date.
Okay.
Actually, no, it was even shorter. My shortest, I thought it was my shortest, was 12 minutes. 7 minutes, actually. Yes.
How come?
Okay, which, this is so funny. So I'm walking down Kudam, and I thought, okay, I feel like I look pretty good. I'm wearing this dress. I had 2 random people coming up and try to, like, spit game. So I'm like, all right, cool. And I get there, and then this guy is just like, hello. And I'm like, hi. And then we say hello, and then he goes, how are you? And, like, something was just a little off. I don't know. I'm like, okay, good. And then he goes, do you want dinner or drinks? And then while I was feeling like the vibe was off, I'm like, how about we do drinks? And he goes, okay. So we get inside the bar, and also his profile was just a bunch of, like, professional pictures of somebody who clearly wanted to look a certain way but just wasn't pulling it off. Okay. And I'm all for people pursuing art and passion, but, like, it just looked like someone who was trying really hard, right? And I'm like, why did I even, like, swipe right on this person? But anyway, so then I said, I'm just going to go to the bathroom really quickly. And he's like, okay. So I go to the bathroom, and I'm like, all right, girl, just, like, have a drink and, like, you know, get out. I go back out. I'm looking for this guy. He ditched me.
No way.
Didn't even say anything. And it was just like, I'm, like, sitting there. I'm over here like, it's been like 5 minutes. It's been 10. And the bartender's like, what do you want? I'm like, give me just a minute. And I'm like, this is really strange, right? If anything, like, I should have left him. But then I'm like, what in the world? And then I'm like, hey, I think I've missed you. And he's just like, sorry, I have an emergency. Like, if you really had an emergency, you would have texted me that immediately.
Yeah.
Or you would have, like, waited and told me, not, like, left. What a strange man. Very strange man. So yeah.
If for any reason he's watching right now, do you want to send him a message?
Good luck. That's all I can say.
Wow. I mean, you know, like, we talk about in this podcast about the differences in dating between men and women, but yeah, I think that screening it before, there's a lot of girls that says, I don't want to talk that much because there are a lot of messages, but you need to screen a little bit before and spend some time there, because you can find, you know, like, whoever there.
Yeah. And this was like, I think, spring of last year. And so this is when I'm already kind of in the point when I'm like, okay, just convert offline. Like, and I work in sales. So then I thought, like, just convert to the next step, like, get them to meet in person. I don't want to waste my time with a pen pal. Like, I'm happy to have a pen pal in a different setting. This is not it. So I thought, all right, hi, how are you? What are you, like, in town for? Oh, I'm in town for a conference. Okay, cool. Yeah. Like, would you want to get a drink? And some people think, when you are meeting with somebody who's not from town, like from where you live, then you might like they might have a different impression. I've met most of the people who were significant in my life while on vacation. So
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So take that statistic. Like, my boyfriend now is an anomaly. So that's why when people say those intentions, I'm like, okay, sure, but it's not what my stats say. So I don't know, like this. Yeah, that whole situation still. If he was a 9 or an 8, sure. But I'm like, yeah.
I think it's super disrespectful, actually. You know,
Yeah.
like, you just have the minimal social skill set of saying, hey, look, I need to go directly, you know, like something happened, or
Yeah.
I don't feel it that we are vibing right now. I don't feel it's meant to be. You just confront a little bit, but you don't leave a person on the table, sit down. You know,
have some respect. And actually, that got to a point with how I approached dating with like actually how I met my boyfriend. I started getting to a point in like my last few months of dating when I said, okay, hi, really quickly, before we go on a date, I just want to ask you for honesty and respect. Okay? No matter what happens, like, you're probably like a cool human because I would like to go on a date with you, which means that I would probably want to at least be friends with you too, right? So whatever happens, if you change your mind or if you meet somebody else or better, just be honest and respectful of my time too. And I will do the same to you. I understand last minute cancellations, but flakiness, that's not cool. Lying, exaggerating, love bombing, none of these are necessary. And you know what? Women want, a lot of women that I know at least, want honesty. So you don't have to tell them like, okay, yes, you are the mother of my children. Yes, I could see you with my family. Oh, the amount of love bombing I've received is unfathomable.
Wow.
So like, and then all of a sudden you get that Uno reverse card and you're like, no, I'm not playing games right now. Why is this happening to me? I did not sign up for this, you know? So I started asking for honesty and respect, and just putting that in the beginning made people kind of be like, okay, like, don't treat her a certain way. She's saying what she wants, which is not saying I want to marry you tomorrow. It's just that I want to give like whatever happens in this world while I get to understand what this person is like a fair shot.
Yeah, no wonder after all these experiences, you decide to build this community.
Yeah. Honesty and respect, ladies and gentlemen. Ask for that from the beginning. And yeah, just like sometimes building the bridge between what women are thinking and what men are thinking, which is...
I mean, I think this is so good, you know, like, because I believe that we have a real disconnect in this sense. We are talking different languages. And we need to get closer. We need to speak similar to understand, to be empathetic enough to understand the experience of the other person. If you are a guy and you're struggling to get any match at all, I know it's painful, but it's interesting that women understand that experience, the experience of invisibility. Like, you go to the streets and no one looks at you. You're completely invisible. But from guys, it's also equally important to understand the experience of women. And not from they have a lot of matches, they're getting a lot of attention. It's also having these spotlights that sometimes it burns the back, you know, like you walk in the streets and everyone is looking at you, you know, like it's also uncomfortable. You get attention you don't want. And guys needs to also see this perspective. And being empathetic on both ends, I think is crucial for us to get closer.
Yes, and especially because it's like what you mentioned, become this polarized world. Going along with what you said about the spotlight, while I say shoot your shot, also be kind of ready if somebody's not ready for that in that setting. Like, I don't know if you've heard about this. There's actually a dating coach who puts men to go approach women at Alexanderplatz.
No, I don't know about this.
Yeah, so I used to think, like, why is it I keep getting approached in Alexanderplatz? This is so random, right? But, like, that's not a good setting. Like, you're just trying to go to work. You're busy. You have things to do. I don't think that. And if you met your love of your life at Alexanderplatz, please let me know. But
a tourist, probably.
I don't think any love has happened there that's worthy of, I don't know. But anyway, so, like, sometimes it's about the setting, too, and people are not ready for that. So, like, they're not ready for somebody to approach them and, like, get some cues. And if they say no, that does not mean that it's always going to be a no. It's just, like, maybe check your strategy. Maybe check how you are approaching them. Maybe check, like, you know, yeah, if we all went for, let's say, Brad Pitt, I don't think Brad Pitt wants every single person alive. So maybe approach different types of people kind of thing, you know? But the setting is super important. When people are relaxed, they're more open, and especially when you start with something that's not confrontational and just, you know, light.
100%. Especially this reading, learn how to read the cues, the energy of the other person, what is up to. If you're approaching a girl and it's super defensive, you know, like, leave the fuck out from that situation, because the only thing you can get you into trouble. So we are in the last minute of the interview. I wanted to say thank you, Victoria. Thank you for what you're doing. You know, we are in a moment in which we are, as a society in Europe, 56% of people feel lonely regularly, of Gen Z and also millennials. And all the efforts from different sides that goes towards bringing us together, to help us finding love and connection and feel seen again, it's extremely important and relevant in today's day. So I want to say thank you for your work. I've been following your work for a while, and I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And I think it's contributing towards a better world.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And it really brings me joy. So let's see where it goes.
Where people can know more about you.
You can go to @FitMeet, so FITMEET.Berlin on Instagram. And from there, you can join a WhatsApp community. And then you can elect whether you want to be in the part where you ask questions in another subgroup. But that's where we announce all of our events. Just posted a really fun April calendar. I can't wait.
Okay, fantastic. So we'll put it into the description of the episode.
Perfect.
Okay. So thank you. Have
Everybody
a nice
come
day.
join.
Let's join the FitMeet.
Yes.